Welcome to Shul Machshav on the Daf. We're holding in Zevachim Daf Hey. The Gemarah in Aleph says that Reish Lakish was laying down on his stomach. Rami Reish Lakish al me'oi be'midrasha in the Bismetish umakshi, and he asked a question. And the question was, if you have a carbon who was done shaloi lishma, if it's kosher, it should be miratzeh for the owner. If it's not miratzeh for the owner, why is it kosher? What is that middle ground? Now it's fascinating that the Gemarah brings that Reish Lakish was laying down on his stomach. What's the idea of laying down on the stomach? The Ben Ish Chai in his Sefer Torah Lishma, Simin Shin Samech Zayin, brings a question that they asked him, could someone when he's learning, can he lay down on his stomach, on his back? Can he put himself in a more comfortable position? And he brings a Reish from our Gemarah that he could do it. As long as he's doing it to rest and it will help him out, he should not do it too much. That's what he says. But the question is, why is this an important piece of information the Gemarah has to tell us over here? Why the Gemarah in this sugi is telling me Reish Lakish was laying down on his stomach? So we have over here two nifladik mahalchim that Rabbi Seinu give us. One is a mahalach brought down here in the Keren Oira, and so says Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen in his Sefer Takanas HaShavim Simin Yud. And they explain that a person needs to do kol ma'asav l'shem shamayim. A person has to do his ma'asim for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Reish Lakish was worried that sometimes he eats, and it's not 100% l'shem shamayim. Sometimes he eats and he has in mind to do it l'shem v'ydas Hashem. But many times the food goes into the body and a person just enjoys it. What do you do with food that goes into your body and it's not completely lishma, meaning not completely l'shem shamayim? Is it okay or that's not okay? So Reish Lakish learns from our sugya that we see the karbanis that are done shaloi lishma. Even though shaloi lishma, they're still a good carbon, but they're not a ritzui, they're not perfect. So says Reish Lakish, what is it? If it's considered to be a mitzvah, if it's considered to be done doing the right thing, so then it should be a perfect ma'aseh. And if it's not, meaning if it's considered to be something which is not l'shem shamayim, so it should be a puzzle, it should be a ma'aseh which is not accepted as a good ma'aseh. So says the Keren Oiro, where Reish Lakish says, he brings the pasuk that you learn that if it's not a neder, it's a nedava. Meaning, as long as you're keeping and doing the right thing, which is doing a bracha before and after, it's not l'ritzu, it's not considered to be completely l'shem shamayim, but it's still kadosh, it still has a din that it's a korban kosher. So the food is still included in a ma'aseh mitzvah that a person does. They're not pasul. It's not considered to be an aveira. It's something which is okay. And Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen adds that when Reish Lakish gives his answers, it says, Amar Reish Lakish, Eftach ano pitchu lenafshoy. I'm going to open an answer to myself. So he says, what it means to myself? He's giving an explanation to what his ma'asim are. He's not just giving an answer to the Mishnah. He's talking to himself, when I do a ma'aseh, and I don't have kavanah completely shem shamayim, it still has a kedusha, it still has a din of nedava, even though if it's not perfect as a neder. That's one way to explain it, the way the Keren Oiro or Tzadok HaKohen say. Another mahalach in the sugya is brought down in the Sefer Agro de Pirko, which was written by the Bnei Yissaschar in Ois Shin Aleph. And he says something which is very deep, so we're just going to repeat the words that he says, and each one will try to understand it in his level. The Bnei Yissaschar says that there's a concept called Gilgul Neshamas, which means if a person, when he came to the world, a person comes to the world to do a certain amount of mitzvahs, and he's supposed to do them in a certain way. But if he did not do the full mitzvah the way he's supposed to do, he has to come back to the world. That's all called Gilgul. He comes back to the world to complete his mission in the world. Now the body that did the mitzvahs and completed what this person was supposed to do, this is the body that will come back to Tchias HaMeisim. So the last body that a person does, where he used that body to do all his mitzvahs, that will be the body that he has with Tchias HaMeisim. What happens to all the original bodies? What happens to all the Gilgulim that he had before the last one? Are they completely gone? Or there's something left of them? Says the Bnei Yissaschar, this is what Reish Lakish is talking about. It explains, that's the pshat. Reish Lakish was laying down on his stomach, facing the ground. Actually, he says he was facing the ground. And the reference is when the goof goes back into the ground. When the body dies and goes to the ground. So says Reish Lakish, what happens with his original goofing? That's not the main body that comes to Tchias HaMesim. So are they completely gone? They're basically puzzle. So you learn from our Mishnah that no. If you do a Karban Shalol Yishma, you didn't complete it the way it's supposed to be, so even though the owner still needs to bring another Karban, which will be his main Karban, but the original one still has something to it. Says Reish Lakish the same thing. All the mitzvahs that were done in the original gufs, the ones that are not going to come back to Tchias HaMesim, they still have something that will exist L'Asid Lavai. There will be some ritzui, some nedava that they will be used L'Asid Lavai. They're not completely gone. And that is that middle state that we learn from our Mishnah. A Karban Shalol Yishma, referring to mitzvahs that were done not perfectly in the original Gilgulim, Dvarim Amukim Me'oid, that Bnei Yissaschar is revealing here in the Sugya. In order to join or to donate to the Shor Machshava Shiurim, please email shormachshava@gmail.com.